Hello and welcome to Two and a Half Brains. This is our weekly reality wrap-up show for week 2 of fall 2023. I'm your host, Yo Grabba Gabba. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, facebook.com/PavementRoadProd. You can also email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com, and subscribe right there on the YouTube channel as well so you get all the updates. We are traveling this week, so we have another week of travel later on in the year, but we're traveling this week, so doing this show a little bit later still than we wanted to because we have to get everything packed and get on the road, and we're going to be doing this show from the road, so be sure to let us know what you think, give us your feedback, and if you hear any noise, that's probably what it is here on in the background. So week 2 the show is obviously Survivor and The Amazing Race. We're talking all about it here. I'm going to talk mostly about Survivor, and then I'll bring Jessica here for the Survivor portion. So let's go ahead and get started here with the Survivor portion. First, as they aired in that order, and let's talk about the second episode here. Obviously, this week, it was, again, Reba, and then Belo is the blue tribe, and Lulu is the yellow tribe. Lulu losers continue to lose. They had another summit, and again, they take some of the things are good, and they add to them some things, that aren't as good. They keep going with, like the fire making. But this week, they had the summit meeting, again, or as I guess as the 3 players went off to do Journey, and some of them were just picked, some of them did like rock, paper, scissors, or were picked at random by the different tribes. They got to decide how they wanted to do it. But 3 guys got to go in this case, and they made their way onto the boat. So Bruce went for Belo, Blue Bellows. Lulu had Brandon go, and then Napoleon Dynamite himself went for the Reba Red team. Reba McIntyre, red-haired red team. So obviously, that was how that went down. They got to talk at a little on the beach. Basically, got to talk to each other, and some of the tribe, Brandon gave up all the information. And Bruce gave up very little about his tribe. So it was interesting to see the different approaches to how they, who wanted to handle the information. After that, they had to go take 3 separate paths, and they could choose which way they go. And once they took their paths, they went to. They got to a table game, basically. They got to decide, do you want to risk your vote and play this game for a chance to win an advantage? Do you want to protect your vote? And it had nothing to do with what anybody else decided to do. All 3 got the same choice, same options. And Bruce decided, nope, I'm going to protect my vote, not going to do this. Brandon, of course, decided to risk his vote and do it. And then, what's Napoleon's name again? I'm just gonna keep calling Napoleon Dynamite, because that's what it looks like. Taller Napoleon Dynamite. He decided to risk it as well. So he risked it and he got it. It was basically 3 minutes, I think it was, to complete a puzzle, basically. And then once they completed the puzzle, there's 3 basically match them all up. And then there was 3 that didn't have a matches, and they got put together. And the 3 numbers were a combination to reveal, basically pull out the stick. If you were right, the advantage would fall, and you'd get it. If you didn't do it in time, obviously you didn't have it right. The right combination of numbers, or you didn't do it in time, then you lost your vote. So, obviously the one guy got it, and then Brandon's like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do this. I'm going to risk my vote. And he talked about basically how the puzzle was basically made for him. It was something that right in his wheelhouse, so he definitely would do it and do well. And of course, he did not. He got it wrong, and he failed the task, so he lost his vote. And then they got to go back to camp, and they got to talk about who was gonna get different ideas of who was gonna lie, who was gonna tell the truth, what the lie was gonna be, if they did decide to lie. And Napoleon went back to his beach, and he told everybody the whole truth from beginning to end, the whole story of what happened. And the tribe seemed to really like him. He said he was starting to form bonds with different people on his tribe, anyways, and so that certainly helped. But coming back and having full disclosure, telling them the whole story, and being completely honest, everybody seemed to trust him. And he went into great detail about how he got the advantage, and he said that it was the tribe's advantage to use as a group, and however they decided to use it. And he said he's basically he admitted to playing both sides, not during the confessional, not during the this part, but during a confessional. He said that certain people want to work with him, and the other people want to work with him, so he's basically play both sides as long as he can, and hold on and see ultimately where he wants to go when the chips are down. But the advantage he won was the safety without power. So he said, if it comes down to it, and somebody's going to vote for one of us, we can use it, safety without power, to send the person, whoever's getting targeted, send them back to send them out of tribal council. Now, it's not really a good tool. I mean, it's not a really good advantage either way, because if you do safety without power, you can't vote. So you have to play it before the vote is made, not before the vote is read, right? So, I mean, that'd be interesting though too, to do the safety without power. You go up there to vote and you play that instead. Then you just leave after the vote is cast before they're read. But in this case, you just play before the vote takes place, because obviously you're not gonna. I think it'd be interesting to try it that way. I think it'd be interesting to try the. Let's see how it works. If you play that, you go up to vote, instead of voting, you play the safety without power, and then you go back to your seat, and they go to tally the votes, and then you dip at that point. But they have you do it before the votes are even cast. So if they want to vote for somebody else, they just switch to vote, and obviously it's somewhat scrambly, and if they're splitting the votes, it makes it a little bit different. But it's not really a great advantage. It's basically just an idol without being able to vote. But it's definitely not a great group advantage, because if your group is in trouble and they're splitting votes, they'll just split on somebody else. So it doesn't really help anybody in that case. But he was saying it's our group idol, our group advantage to use how we want to. We'll see how that turns out. Also, J Maya, I was trying to figure out the clue to the idol, even though she, and I think Austin has the event at the idol in that camp, but she's like, this looks like a code or some kind, I want to figure it out. And Austin was looking through the clue, and he found it. Basically said that idol is basically by a tree with an X. And then all the clues are definitely different. All the clues to the idols are different. So you have to find the idol before you can get your vote back. And all the clues, so you can't work across tribal lines, because the idols are hidden in different spots in the camp on the beach. So one clue for one tribe isn't gonna help another tribe. They're all different. And then also we found out too, once you get the idol, there's still more things you have to do. You don't just get the idol, you have to actually do more things. And we found that out because Lulu, they were looking for it. Brandon was looking for it, and Simbaya, I think her name is. They went to look together, and Caleb was kind of trying to bring in Emily and have Emily be his pocket vote, if you will. And Simbaya's like, hey, let's work together. And Emily's like, nah, I really don't want to, because I know you guys are trying to get rid of me. You want me to not look and not be able to find it. So you guys don't want me to, look for the idol. You want to have somebody come with me to make sure I don't find it. So she goes, I'm not playing that game. So and then Sabiyah goes off with Brandon, and Brandon finds it, but doesn't take it because he's afraid he's going to lose his vote. Sabiyah's like, well, I don't mind, I'll take it. So she grabs it, and her and Caleb and Brandon are working on the what they have to do to find what they have to do to get the idol. And their clue is basically about it. It's up in a tree, and they're looking, and Caleb's looking, and they can't find anything. And eventually, they find that there's it's way up in a tree, and there's a little vine that goes up to the tree. And they chop down the vine, and the idol falls. So they're like, all right, awesome, we have it, we have our vote, I have the idol. And somebody grabs it, and it looks like, oh, actually, it's inside a candle. So I have to melt the candle to get the idol out. And then they realize they still haven't won the flint, and they haven't been able to make fire, so they can't melt the candle. So she doesn't technically have possession of the idol, so she can't vote. They go to the immunity challenge. Obviously, this is a little bit out of order, but they go to the immunity challenge, and Lulu loses again. They had a little bit of a lead for a little while at least. It didn't last. And then on the puzzle, I think it was Brando and maybe Kelly working on it, and they complete the puzzle. And then the red team, Reba, also completes the puzzle. And they're pretty much down to, those two are down to basically one piece each. And they end up completing it pretty quickly after each other, and Lulu was nowhere close. I think they got the puzzle second, maybe even first or close second. And they made no progress. Sabiyah and Brandon again did the puzzle, and they didn't really get anywhere. So once again, Brandon, now his third challenge he tried to do, and failed miserably once again for the third time. And he says, like, he's like, hey, I'm the puzzle guy. I am usually pretty good at puzzles, but I've been struggling for whatever reason this time at the puzzles. And his tribe was not happy. They were talking about whether he should go, and it came down to it. They decided, all right, well, it's gonna be between Emily and Brandon, and we have to decide who's gonna go out. And Caleb was kind of stumping for Emily. Sabiyah could really go either way. I wasn't really happy either way. And then whoever the third guy was, that's it's not Austin. It's, gosh, I can't remember his name. But him and Caleb were working together pretty closely, and then Sabiyah was working together. So basically, they all three went off to look for the idol, I guess, and decide who they want to vote out. And the other two stay back at camp. Brandon and Emily were like, well, they're going to go decide our fate right now. We'll just have to stay back at camp and figure out and wait to see what they decide, basically. So they went out, and basically we're talking about it, and only two of them could vote because Sabiyah still lost her vote. So Kelly gets to vote, or Emily gets to vote, and then the other two get to vote. Caleb and the other guy get to vote and decide who goes out and who goes home. And so they get down to the tribal council, and they're looking to decide who they vote for. And again, the pitch is like, hey, Kelly's like, keep saying Kelly. Emily's like, I think I could be a good asset. I came out playing way too hard, and I know that. I'm sorry. I'll be more loyal. And she goes and actually gives her shot in the dark to Sabiyah. So she's like, I'm not going to play my shot in the dark because I'm going to be loyal to you guys. And she gives Sabiyah her shot in the dark as a show of good faith. And Sabiyah's like, I'll get back to you after the vote. And Emily's like, I could get back after the vote because I'm out of the game, but I'm going to put my faith in her. Hope that she keeps me in the game. And her and Caleb keep me in the game. And Brandon's pitch is like, hey, I'm charismatic, I'm outgoing, I'm not, I'm loyal, and I'll help, build bonds with the other members of the other tribes when we get there. When we get to a merge or a swap, I can be an asset to help bring other people in. I thought I'd be better at the challenges. I'm not, but, and Jeff made an analogy about how he, didn't make the basketball team because he wasn't good enough, but he was very enthusiastic, very passionate. So they made him like a water boy, or basically a person who would help the team out with other things. Basically, a glorified cheerleader. And Jeff said that he liked it because that was his role he could have. He couldn't help the team by winning, but he helped the team in other ways. And Brandon really related to that. It's like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I can be that person who's kind of the water boy, if you will, kind of the person who's a team player who can help out in other ways other than just competing in the challenges and in the competition. So the vote went down, and only 3 were able to vote out of the 5, and all 3 threw their votes on Brandon, who could not vote. So it was actually 3-0. Brandon goes out of the game. Again, couldn't vote and couldn't play the shot in the dark. If you can't play shot in the dark, you can't vote. If you can't vote, you can't play shot in the dark. So he was basically dead to rights, and he becomes the second person voted out of the game at this point. So down to 16. An okay episode again. Nothing too crazy. Bruce is kind of rubbing people the wrong way in his tribe again. There's the 3 girls working together, and they want to decide who they want to bring in. And they seem like Brando is their person. They seem like they want to work with Brando. So Brando, and then it's Jake, the Boston guy, and then Bruce are kind of on the outside. So it looks like it probably would be Brandon, or I should say Jake or Bruce, who would go out next if if there's a vote on that tribe. But that tribe's doing pretty well, and then the red tribe is doing pretty well. There really isn't anybody who's on the outside of the red tribe. So it's interesting to see who on the Reba tribe who goes out if they lose. But the girls on blue with Brando, and then the red team again. There's really nobody really jumping out as somebody who could be a target. So we will see. We will see what happens next. But that is how that episode ended. Again, what did Brandon do wrong? He just wasn't, especially early in the game, he wasn't an asset. How did he lose? What is his biggest flaw or biggest thing he did wrong? He just wasn't an asset to the tribe. He didn't win challenges for him. Wasn't able to lead. He did a physical challenge first day, didn't do a good job. He did a challenge second day, on the journey, and lost. And then he did the puzzle again for his tribe and lost. So and then once he was down like that, he wanted to do a challenge and lost his vote again. Would it have helped? Maybe. He could have done saved it out, however, used it right away and escaped the vote, and then Emily would have definitely been voted out. So in this case, risking it, I usually say you don't want to risk your vote, but in this case, it wasn't a terrible idea because he knew it was either him or Emily going. It was a pretty binary option. So getting yourself immune, whether he would have used it or not, who knows? But whether he would have been, he probably would have used it. He would have been safe. But it's in the case where it's either you or somebody else, the safety stop power would have been very useful for him. But it didn't happen in this case. So he tried it, didn't work out, and was voted out 3-0. So we'll see what happens next. Looks like next week Jake has a little bit of a medical issue where he basically passes out. And it's funny too because Lulu also still doesn't have their flint, right? They still lost. They lost all the challenges, couldn't win one to get their flint. And of course, if they would have won even first or second, they would have got their flint. This week, it was instead the reward / immunity was a big fishing gear and then a smaller fishing gear. One team wins one team wins the other, and they go from there. So, and obviously, the flint. If you lose, they hate your flint, which the other team doesn't even have. Lulu doesn't even have one to lose, but they lost, so they didn't get their flint this week. So, overall, so-so episode. Again, nothing amazing, nothing terrible. I think it was actually probably better than the first week because it was a very binary choice. It was like, hey, we're going to either get rid of the person who's perceived as, a little better in the challenges, but not really, getting along with people, versus the person who's loyal but isn't good in the challenges. Which way do you want to go? And and to Emily's credit, she was on the outside and she worked her way back in. She was humble. They gave her feedback, and Caleb said, one good thing about her is she takes feedback. And they told her one thing to do wrong. She actually had that. She actually had the quote of the episode. She actually had the title of the episode, which is bringing a bazooka to a tea party. And she said she came out really, really guns blazing, really early, trying to play really hard, and didn't do a good job. And obviously, it was a really bad look to go after Bruce so early on the match chat for the first hour of the game. Really come out and being very opinionated and vocal, and you don't want to do that. You definitely want to hide early. So she's trying to go under the radar and everything like that. But if they lose again, I can't imagine she survives the vote. So I think she's still probably gone if they lose again. And they probably will before our swap. Who knows when the next swap's going to be, but I don't expect her to make it past the swap if there is one. Or make it to the swap unless there's one, next week or the week after, which I don't see happening. So she has to hope they do an immunity. She finds an idol, but obviously, or gets an advantage, I guess. But they're not going to let her go. Probably to, they're probably not going to let her go to a journey to get an advantage, unless another team can pick or something. But she's still probably dead rights if they lose. And then if the blue team loses, I think it's got to be Bruce or it's got to be Jake. Unless Jake has a medical issue and has to be pulled from the game, those two seem like they're on the bottom of that tribe. So we'll see what happens next week. And we'll see if Lulu can actually win something. Maybe with Brandon out there, maybe they'll actually be able to pull off a win. We'll see. But that's how the episode was. And now we'll go ahead and bring in Jessica, and we'll talk about the Amazing Race episode for this week. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
So obviously, the Amazing Race this week, they started in Thailand.
They remained in Thailand.
I guess they said they remained in Thailand with a different part of Thailand, a different side, the more rural side, I guess.
Right.
And what happened what happened here?
So they started off by having to do a roadblock where one person had to decide who had a green thumb, basically. And, some teams were funny and looking at each other's hands saying, yeah, you have the green thumb, blah, blah, blah. And what they had to do was wade through a bunch of water, gather lotus, technically pods, not flowers that haven't bloomed yet. Yeah, so
I think they call them bulbs, right?
Bulbs. I can't even think of the term right now, but it's like something like that. Yeah. And create the bouquet, if you will, of them in a certain order, like the person was doing there. However, not one team we saw sat there and watched how they were doing it, unless they just didn't show it. But I mean, it's an 1.5 hour show, so I think they could have fit in showing people a look. And of course, a lot of people struggled and took a while because they didn't actually sit there and watch the person make the actual bouquet, which was very frustrating. You want me to keep going about the whole thing?
No, we'll stop there for a second.
Discuss that.
Yeah, I mean, it was it seemed somewhat difficult, but obviously it said there's some of the tasks seem simple, and then people take 16 times to try it, where the ones that are harder, they get on the second try because they spend more time learning it and studying it, right? Whereas the people who, I'm trying to say it, I guess, but
so I'll give the situation.
Yeah.
So I don't know their name, but the Asian couple who we both like.
Yeah.
She got there first, and it took her. Jocelyn, that's right. Yeah, Jocelyn. Sorry. I forgot now. Yeah. It took her 12 tries to get it right. And she kept talking about how, her husband's family is from a part of Thailand and she's going to be a disappointment to them. She's not getting it right, blah, blah, blah. And I never saw her just kind of sit there and study him actually doing it.
Right.
But she still got it first out of everybody because she got there much earlier. And then, isn't it Gary and something? The father's son, the deaf father. I can't remember their names. We're gonna have to learn the names for the next show.
Yeah, there's a lot more teams this season.
Yeah, once we get another week, we'll start learning it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But he got there second. I think he did end up leaving second too. But I guess my whole point is, they got there early, didn't really study it, took them a lot of tries. However, the IT brothers, I think they are.
Yeah.
He sat there and watched everybody going for checks a million times to learn what was said was wrong with everybody's thing, and he went up there once and got it right away.
Right.
It took a little bit longer-ish because he waited to see what was wrong with other people and fixed it first. So if people would have just studied him, the guy making it there that was supposed to show them how to make it, maybe it wouldn't have taken as long. if they actually paid attention. But most people just got there, ran into the water, just started grabbing stuff and coming back, not even paying attention that it can be something that was partially bloomed. You know, the pattern was the 3-4-3. You had to have the leaves big enough to wrap a certain way and all that stuff. And like, if you would have just studied it initially, it might not have taken so long.
Yeah. So just 2 points on that. I was kind of trying to say it before. It's like there'll be some times where you'll see a very complicated task, a very complicated thing you have to do, and people spend a lot of time going through it and a lot of time studying it because they want to get all the details. When it doesn't look like it's that detailed, it looks like it's pretty simple. They don't spend as much time studying it, and then it's being harder.
Right. Yeah. They try and learn something simple when it's probably not that hard, and then the harder stuff they just want to rush through.
Right, because it doesn't appear to be. It didn't appear like it was gonna be that detailed.
Well, no, it's like all it looked like is they're just putting flowers together with the stuff wrapped around it and wrapping it. But there obviously has to be more to that. It's not going to be something that simple.
Right, and the second part of that, I guess I was gonna say too, is sometimes the judges are like, close enough, and sometimes they're like, no, it has to be exactly like this, down to the freaking. You know, I was rewatching. Sometimes I rewatch some old episodes, and there's the one with when they had to do the truck for like it was like it basically put, you know, decorate a truck, whatever, and they had to set up the horns.
Oh yeah.
And all that, right? And it seems like a bunch. It was like a couple seasons ago.
Yeah.
And it took like something a bunch of times to do it because like they had to have it exact. They had to have everything in the right spot. They had to have the horn hooked up correctly, and everything like that. And so the judge on that one was like, even if the thing is shifted a little too far to the right, you have to redo it. Right? Whereas sometimes you've seen it too. I think one season where they had like statues, and part of the statue fell off. I think you remember
last
that.
Season.
It was last season, I think it was, yeah.
It was last or the one before, where they had to chip away at the statue, and something was like a little bit, but to a point. Like some they did stop and they had to actually fill it in.
Yeah, this was something else. This was from previous, like 3 or 4 seasons ago.
Okay.
They like had to carry like a statue, and part of the statue broke off, and they still accepted it, even though the part of it broke off. You remember though, right?
Not really. No,
okay.
I just remember the one where they had the actual block
chisel,
and they had to chisel it, thinking they actually had to sculpt it, and said it was just chipping away until it fell apart. But some of it fell apart a little too much.
Right. No, this one I remember you watched because you were mad that they accepted it. I think it might have been like the reality team or one of them, but
maybe
the part of the statue broke off, and the person who was running the thing was like, good enough. And it's like, it's not.
It's gotten a lot more lenient though, because when I first started watching, it was stricter, and now like last season too, they just let people go with certain things, and I mean, whatever, I guess if it's something difficult, but like you still should hold people to a pretty tight standard. And
this one, they were held to a very tight standard.
They did,
and that's I kind of like that.
Yeah, no, I did too, because it's something that really, it's not really difficult if you just pay attention.
Right.
You know, like you said, people just went out willy-nilly grabbing stuff, but the bulbs or the buds had to all be similar in size. Yeah, it's like all that stuff. That's part of the attention to detail about doing it.
For sure.
So I want them to be more strict than not.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. If it's something like super really difficult and it's not that important, then whatever. But no, I'm definitely on your team for sure. I'd much rather have it be, especially if it's like a cultural thing.
To a point. I mean, it just came to mind the whole where they had to play the bagpipes and they had to play some stuff on it. Like, I don't expect someone to get that within a half an hour. There's no way. People take years to master that. So if you can get something close, but some things like, I feel like rolling grape leaves, I remember when they did that, they did hold them to a bit of a higher standard because it's not that difficult. You just have to learn it.
There was one, it was a few seasons ago again.
The cheese. No, it wasn't even that. It was just how everybody's like, I love cheese. I can make it.
Yeah, right.
Because that's how it works.
Yes.
I love cheese too, but like I don't make it in my spare time all the time.
Exactly. I think I'm trying to remember. A lot of seasons blend together. Especially you can tell between 28 and 34 are in there somewhere, right? I mean, they're not, because it's not even like it's one location. It's all over the world every time, so you can't really remember what season it's from. But I remember the one season. It was near the end of the season. They had to be in, and I think it was an Indian wedding, maybe, or a Pakistani wedding, and they had to like play an instrument or something, and like that one, if they didn't get it perfect, like they had to start over, which makes sense because it's somebody's wedding.
Right.
You don't want to screw up somebody's wedding, right? So like that makes sense.
It's probably not real though. Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, they have paid a shit ton to do it, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
people who are doing the wedding, it's worth their time.
Yeah.
The wedding's paid for by CBS, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, you know, but something like that. It was like a cultural thing in this wedding that you had to do,
Right.
right? Or I think they had to make the wedding dress, and
Oh, wow.
for the woman, and it's obviously it's a cultural wedding, so everything had to be perfect. So like if you have something that's off by half an inch, it's wrong, and you have to redo it.
Right.
You know, so it's that kind of stuff. I definitely wanted to be stricter because, you know, it's important.
Yeah.
Important. So from there they had then what did they do next?
The roadblocks.
The
Or
roadblock.
no, the detours.
And before they did
Or,
that though,
Yeah. So sorry.
you're good.
So they had to take a boat. I don't remember what they called it. There's a certain name for the boats.
Yeah, they still those like fast boats to get to the picking the
Yeah.
flowers too. But yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They took it there. They took it back to where their partner was, got their bags. They had to go to this, I don't think it was the market exactly there, but they had to go to an area. They had to put a coin in an elephant and go under the elephant 3 times for good luck. And then they got to pick their detour, which was either collecting palmettos out of like rivers,
Canal
like
or
connected canals, yeah, or collecting ingredients for a restaurant in a market in
Yeah.
Thailand.
Yeah.
And all of the words of the items were spelled phonetically, so it wasn't spelled in the actual language, so you couldn't like show people the list and they would know exactly what it is. You had to try and pronounce it and attempted to ask them what it was.
Right. For sure. And yeah, I think it was an interesting detour. Exactly. The Pomelo was one. More people did that one.
That was a strength one. The other one was a, not to say intelligence one, but that one was a cultural, more cultural, having to try and speak their language phonetically, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, more people did the Palmella, but the more I saw people do the market one, I feel like the market one was easier.
It was, you really, you know, I'm always scared by the market ones because obviously they can be busy, whatever, but it seemed like more like if you're from our West New York, it was like more of like a Broadway market.
Yeah.
Right, as opposed to like an actual like a market you see in like
bazaar.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
It seemed like it was like, you know, a few shops with people there. And I'm sure it was bigger than it looked, but it didn't seem like it was outrageous.
They did say it was pretty large, but for the most part, most of it was in one area, then another wasn't a different. But
Sure.
I don't even know if I'm concerned with how big it was. It's more of, could you try and pronounce it phonetically where someone can understand you and try and use an accent? And it's
Right,
like, there's a line with doing that too, because I don't know, you know, people think you're mocking or whatever,
Sure,
but it's
sure.
just trying, like, Jocelyn's husband, will say that because I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
You know, his
That's
family's from Thailand, so he kind of knows the dialects, and with them it was like super easy, and he even started to figure out what the stuff was because he speaks the language.
Right.
But then the married couple, they did fine. He was pronouncing the words and like getting help right away.
Yeah, that's Ashley and
Yeah, I don't remember his name. Craig?
Craig.
Is it? Or isn't Craig part of the son? I don't know. We'll learn the names.
Yeah.
Ashley and husband. There you
Todd.
go. Todd?
His name's Todd.
Todd.
Yeah.
Why
Craig
is the carpet all wet, Todd?
I don't know, Margo.
I hope she asked him that every Christmas,
I
because
hope
that's
so.
what I would do. Oh man, if we have a son, I kind of want to name him Todd.
And then he pisses on the floor.
Oh man.
Why is the carpet all wet, Todd? 'Cause I pissed on it, Mama.
Yeah, just always ask him, why is the carpet all wet, Todd? Oh man.
All right, so I'm trying to remember where the hell we were.
Just talking about which is easier. I mean, the Palmetto one, yeah, it's strength and endurance, and at one point they made it look like it was hard that you wouldn't be able to locate them, but they're all over the place. They were in the trees, everything, like, it was easy, but you can only take so many because otherwise your boat would sink, like it happened to the Texas team, we'll call them.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they were unevenly weighted too between the two of them, so that already wasn't in their favor, and then they overloaded the boat too much.
Yeah.
Whereas the friends, can't remember their names because they're There's 2 friend couples, but not the ones from Philly, the other friends.
Yeah.
They filled up the boat and almost got it all done in one task, but I feel like they were evenly weighted, so like it didn't sink because they balanced the boat out that way.
For sure.
So I don't know. That when you take more trips, then it's, I guess, tiring-ish, but.
Well, and then I said the military brothers thing. It was they got to the one part of it like, oh, there's none here. We have to find them. And they went down. They went to like maybe we should switch tasks. And they floated a little bit further. They got to the next canal. And it was just loaded with them.
Right.
Like, oh, okay, we're good. They're right here.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe the show helped and like probably knocked a bunch down. Obviously, to have them waiting there, which is fine. But I still think out of the 2, I probably would have rather, after seeing it, I would have picked the market.
Yeah.
Because I'm good with languages and all that, and I think I could have tried to pronounce them enough that people would understand. But then the mother-daughter team and then the friends from Philly that are trying to show these people the list that it's spelled phonetically. They have no idea what this stuff is based on what it's spelled.
Right.
So, like, you got to actually attempt it.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be harder because you couldn't just show a list.
Right.
So that got very frustrating.
For sure. Yeah. So that was pretty much how that went. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was important. Oh yeah, I liked the juxtaposition of when they're digging and they said there was catfish in the water and everything. When they're digging for the
they were pilling the buds.
The buds, yeah, and then I hope our partners are not too worried about us. They show them they're throwing bread into the water to the fish.
Yep, they're feeding the fish food and just having a grand old time.
Yeah, laughing and joking around.
They're not worrying about you why you're not back yet. They honestly haven't even noticed.
Exactly. It was so funny.
Like, yeah, must be freaking out. Oh, look, you want to come feed the fish?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
perfect.
That would have been me too. And then also it was kind of funny. Everybody's losing their shoes in the mud.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like at that point you should probably just take your shoes off before going into the water, because if anybody's been in a creek before, they know that you sink right into the mud.
For sure.
But anyways.
Awesome. So then obviously after the detour, they got to go right to the pit stop, and it was one of those things where they haven't had another flight, so it says like something like back-to-back legs if they don't have a second flight or whatever. A lot of times they kind of finish in a similar order, right? So getting on the later flight can mess you up for 2-3 legs, right? It can put you behind. You can never catch up sometimes. At least this season, at least there's gonna be multiple stuff like that, and opportunities to start at the same time, or for like seasons past, not really the last 2 COVID seasons, but you would basically get to you have to get to the next location, and it wouldn't open till 7 in the morning, so everybody gets there at that point. You're basically starting at the same spot again. They haven't really done that the last couple seasons because they don't want everybody gathered at the same spot.
Well, yeah, but I don't know, because like when they're taking the planes, the flights, they still got to their destinations at different times this time.
Yeah.
And the same with the last year, even though they're on the same flight, they all had different start times that were spaced out anyways.
And they will do that again, but like the a lot of the teams, the challenges past previously, they'll go to a location and then they'll all get there at the same time.
Yeah.
Before it opens.
Remember that before too.
Yeah. So like that resets things a little bit, and then you can kind of see who the really good teams are, because like I said, last few seasons with all the quarantining and stuff like that, if you got ahead, you pretty much stayed ahead. If you got behind, you pretty much stayed behind.
Right.
And it wasn't a whole lot of like changing.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Unless you really sucked at something.
Or were really good at something. Yeah. But usually, it stayed pretty similar. So this was a similar thing where you weren't really going anywhere new. There was some driving, but not a ton. It was a taxi. So
the only thing was making of the bouquets.
Yeah.
Because people still ended at different, people got there and they didn't leave in the same order for the most part. But towards the end, the roadblocks.
Yeah.
That kind of just brought everybody back to where they were.
Yeah. And I guess I'll say the only real difference in the ability to make up, ground in this case was mostly based on within the smaller group, because there was 6 and 6. right? So the first 6 would move around a little bit, who is 1 through 6, and then the 7 through 12 would move around 7 through 12, but really nobody from 10 jumping up to 6, and 6 was evolved back to 9. It was pretty much the same 6, and just maybe slightly different order. Whereas when they have,
Jocelyn and husband went first.
Yeah.
And then were the father son a part of the second group, or were they in the first?
They finished second.
Them? I know they finished in the same order as last week, but I mean, Jocelyn, they got to leave first by themselves.
Yes,
I remember.
And that's what they do now. That's what they always did.
Yeah.
But they had them leave in pairs to cut down crew and stuff like that with COVID.
Yeah.
But they always were like that.
No, I know. I'm just trying to think of this time.
Oh, yeah.
They went first, but were they by themselves?
Yes.
Okay. And then the next group went with more people.
So what they used to do, what they're going to go back to doing this year, which I always have preferred, is you get there and then you leave 12 hours later from when you get there. Yeah. So if you get there, at 10:30 at night, for example, you leave at 10:30 in the morning, whereas the team who gets there at midnight leaves at noon.
Yeah.
So you basically keep your lead, but you just get a mandatory rest period.
Right.
But then again, they can set it up where you get the next task can't start till everybody's there.
Yeah.
And then you lose that lead. But I prefer that.
Yeah.
For sure. And I said, so that they should all be leaving at different times, because they should all be leaving at equidistant from the same distance from when they arrived. So whether it's 12 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours, whatever it is, they should all leave from that time. So,
yes.
So I guess all that to say, a lot of the teams who were in the beginning stay at the beginning. A lot of teams who were near the end stay at the end.
Yep.
I think the team who finished second last week finished last this week.
Yes.
And who was that?
The mother-daughter team.
Yeah, it was Elizabeth and Ileana, I think it was.
I think so.
And yeah, they were right now near the back of the pack last week. The friends from Philly were around there, but I think they finished like 9th or 10th.
But I mean, during the last episode too, they're behind in a lot of points too.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
And then so Joel and Garrett maybe are the
Army friends.
Yeah, the bearded guy and the other guy. And then there's and then the team Texas, Anna Lee,
I forgot. Yeah.
And
her
Steve.
Name. Steve. Okay.
Yeah.
See, you know some names.
I know most of them.
You just don't know the names of the people we actually like.
Right, for sure. Right. The teams the teams are annoying. You get to know.
Yes.
So then the other Army guys were a little bit further to the back, but
yeah.
And then the friends, the ladies, the moms that are friends, whatever,
yes.
the other friend group.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what the heck their name is. I can't.
Crystal? Was one Crystal or something?
Maybe.
I don't remember.
The one has like a pretty common white lady name, but it's like spelled differently.
And I can't remember. Oh, no, I lost it again.
It's spelled differently though. It's like, it's not normal spelling.
Let's say not Diane. I don't know.
It could be like Deanne or something. I don't know.
No,
It doesn't matter.
It's not. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They're not important.
But not the Philly friends, no. The other friends.
The two friends groups, two ladies friends are not going to be there that long, I don't think.
Probably not.
But so it was again a lot more around the same spots. They finished around the same as where they started. And so long story short, what did that team do wrong that lost?
They didn't make sure that they were paying attention to their list enough, and I mean that was the biggest thing. They messed up the durian. They didn't get the durian, and they got something else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just more attention detail stuff, pretty much.
Yeah, and again, it's for even the team, Jocelyn and husband, they. I feel like his name is Edwin or something. I don't know, but no.
Edwin.
Okay, I don't remember.
I'd remember that. I have a great grandfather named Edwin. So,
okay.
Yeah. Well, they messed up in there too. They got 1 instead of 2.
Yeah,
but at least they knew exactly right away, right, because they knew the language.
They're supposed to get a quart or something, or they got 1.
They're supposed to get
2, and they got 1.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And they actually checked in. They said no, this is wrong, and they realized, oh yeah, we're supposed to get 2. And and they went back and got it. But the difference...
They didn't even have to tell them when they're going through the list. They're like, oh, we're supposed to get 2 of these.
Yeah.
And, like, went right back.
You're right. They didn't get all the way through checking it in.
No, because as soon as they took the coconut sugar out, they're like, oh, we're supposed to get 2 of these.
Yes. And
because of how it was written. There was, like, a two, not liter, but it was, like, a 2 of 2 something.
Yeah.
Of how much the weight was.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we're supposed to get 2.
Right.
Grabbed everything, went back right away, and went back, and they were fine and still had their lead.
For sure. And I think, too, part of it is that they knew what they were doing, and they, realized it. And when they were told that they were wrong, they weren't told what was wrong either, which is part of it.
Right, they weren't.
No. But they already knew. And
so that's why they had to pay attention or write, if they could take notes or something,
yes.
to write what everything was.
Right, for sure. And I guess my point with that is, though, they made a mistake too. And pretty much every team on the list made a mistake.
Yeah.
The problem with mother-daughter team is that they were behind.
Yeah.
Right? Jocelyn and them were in first place. They made a mistake, but they had plenty of time to fix their mistake because they were ahead.
Yep.
So when you're behind, you have to be perfect.
Yep.
You can't make a mistake because any mistake could cost you.
You have to be able to recover right away, or otherwise it's not going to happen.
Right. And so there was teams who were close to being last, and they weren't sure where they're. And I think Elizabeth and Ileana, I thought they were actually maybe 10th or 9th. They felt like they could have been. They didn't seem as sure that they're going to be last.
Yeah.
Or some of the other teams thought they were going to be last, and they ended up not being last. But it's hard to tell too when you're only with one other team. Like when you're with 7 other teams, you kind of know where you are. When there's 1 or 2 other teams there, you don't really know where you're going to end up. Where you could be racing for first, you could be racing for last for all you know.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And again, you get the same clue box. You see there's no clues left because you know you're last. But when you're at a detour, going from a detour right to the pit stop, you don't know where you are.
Right.
So, attention to detail. They made some mistakes, and they actually didn't even want to go to. If you remember, they didn't even want to go to the market.
Yeah, they got taken there.
The taxi followed the other team, the Philly friends taxi. Right. They just followed them and took them to the same place.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I guess we're doing this." So again, they're like, "Oh, I guess we're doing this," and that's what they did. So it wasn't that wasn't really what they wanted to do. But again, when you're not that strong of a team, you can't make mistakes, and when you're behind, you can't make mistakes. So that's kind of what cost them. Again, if they were in first place, they didn't do bad enough to be eliminated if they were higher up. The fact that they were one of the last teams, and then they finished, and then they made a couple mistakes. Well, that's gonna cost you when you're when you're one of the last teams to make those mistakes. So
I mean, they almost decided to go to the other task, but then they were smart enough to know, like, well, we're here, we can't,
right?
Because they knew they were towards the bottom,
right.
Anyways.
For sure. So again, if you're a stronger team, then you can do that, but they really didn't have that opportunity, unfortunately for them. And again, like I said, if you get to the clue box, you see there's you're one of the last teams, and you're in trouble. But when you're just going right from a detour where you only saw one other team, you don't really know where you're going to be.
You're in what?
What?
You're in what?
What did you say to me?
You're in trouble?
Yeah.
Trouble.
Oh, God, Swifty, stop it. And then from that point, you're racing. You could be racing first, you could be racing for last for all you know. And if you're not first, you're last.
Maybe they were in trouble when they walked in.
Oh, boy. So, real quick here, we don't have a ton of feel for a lot of the teams yet. Who are your, top, teams you like, and maybe a team or two you don't like?
Jocelyn and husband and father, son. Love them.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're in the top, but they grew on me from the first episode anyways, before it got to the end, knowing that they were good. Like I said, I told you right before the episode was starting and finding out, the father was deaf. I'm like, I really don't know how this is going to go. They're not going to make it far. Like, they're awesome. Mm-hmm. So I like to root for the quote-unquote underdog. Not Absolutely. That they're underdogs, but, they have to deal with something that no other team does.
For sure. And I think part of it, too, they might be stronger because they have such a ability to communicate beyond speaking that they might, they could almost reach those minds, which is
and it's a
great.
bond, like,
Well, like
the mother-daughters
Yeah.
mother-daughter team, like I could see them butting heads way more, but them, the father-son, they get along so well that they kind of have to,
Yeah.
you know.
They
So,
have to rely on
like,
each other a lot.
right. So it's great. It's good to see that.
And kind of, you remember, like, obviously, remember Penn and Kim,
yeah.
Holderness's, they had a little bit of
Obviously.
a quote-unquote disability being ADHD, but it turned into hyperfocus.
Yeah, well, yeah, that worked out for him.
Right.
a lot.
So exactly. So like, you know, that could also be, you know, you could take your weakness and turn into a strength for some.
We'll say, like, distractions are kind of out because for, the father, how can he get distracted? He can't hear anything else going on. But at the same time, that could also hinder them because some people can hear stuff if they're talking, communicating.
Yeah.
Like with the unscrambling, he was still standing there when they're like, oh, well, let's all work together. But he can't hear them.
Right.
They can't communicate to him. But guess what? He still got it before they all did anyway.
Right.
So, they do well. I'm hoping they keep doing well.
Yeah.
Let's see, other teams. I don't know. Those are my top two right now. I'm still trying to get a feel with a lot of the other ones.
So.
But teams I don't like. I know you like team. So I know you like team Annalee.
Anal?
Team Texas. Yeah, I know.
Steve
Now
Anal?
I can't say it any differently. But I'm not the biggest fan of
No,
them.
I like the people from Texas. They're my kind of people.
Yeah.
And obviously anal is fun.
Yeah, is it?
It's fun to say.
It's because it's a Family Guy.
Yeah.
Annalee, Quagmire's daughter, quote unquote, but whatever. But, they started off and she says that she's not the typical Southern Texas girl you're thinking about, except she proved that she is.
She's exactly.
So, like, I hate that stuff. I hate when people claim that, when women claim that but you are. Like,
Yeah.
what happened in the episode last night when they're in the boat and the boat sank and they had to get out and he's like, take it back. She's like, well, which way is back? Well, back, behind you. Like, where do you think back is? Like, understand you probably don't know where the back of the boat is, but he's saying to move the boat back.
Right.
So, frustrating. But,
Yeah, I remember when there was the baseball coach Steve and his daughter. That was from several seasons ago.
Yeah.
He was a third base coach for the Cleveland and for Boston. Remember that, Steve Smith. Anyways, similar father-daughter thing.
yeah. I'm not the biggest fans of Team Philly.
Anyways, yeah.
They're kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know. Besides that, there's really no, like, everybody else is kind of in the middle of the pack right now that I don't have a real opinion on them.
Yeah, I'm the same boat. The brothers are the military brothers.
Yeah, the military brothers.
They're
are
fine. They're not as good as the ones last year.
No, they're okay. I don't know. They're lower on my list.
Yeah.
They're not that great at it, and they seem like they're kind of, I don't know, to stay along for the ride, I guess. I like the IT brothers.
Yeah.
They do pretty well, and like especially because they're analytical. Like I said, the one sat there and watched everybody get their bouquets checked a bunch of times before even attempting, because he knew he wanted it to be perfect, and he watched where the mistakes were happening other places.
Yeah.
And then the military friends,
Yeah.
they're not too bad, but they're definitely towards the bottom. They're not going to last too long.
Yeah, I feel the same. I said there's some teams that I could see sneaking by. Other teams I don't really see going too far.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, obviously that Asian couple reminds me of Hung and Chi from a couple years ago and a couple seasons ago, and they
Tongue in cheek.
yes
I know.
they went really far, but then they petered out in the end. They lost. They ran out of steam.
Yeah.
And these guys are older as well, so they could have the same fate.
Right.
I don't know. But I said I agree with you on that. I'm a little interested. The IT guys are interesting. I'm interested to see what they have. They have a really physical task. They haven't really had a really physical task yet.
Right.
I don't know if they'll hold up. They're
Right.
kind of scrawny.
Yeah, you never know though. I mean, we've been surprised before with teams.
For sure. Like that Gary and D'Angelo team when Gary's a freaking singer and dancer and he's an NFL lineman.
He was an artiste.
Right.
Gary liked to go study the arts.
Yeah,
That was a total shock.
Yeah.
But it was awesome.
For sure. Super cool. Is that the fiance's engaged couple, the gay guys? They're fine.
Oh, I honestly completely forgot about them.
Same.
They're not super memorable.
No. Yeah, like I said, there's some teams that are, again, a lot of them are kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
Some are annoying. Some are fun.
Yeah, and I mean they're good. Like they're good at tasks
They're
and
in the-
stuff,
they're
but
middle
like
pack, for sure.
they're very. I want to say low key, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember. Much.
Right, for sure. So same boat. Yeah,
And with the other friends too.
the other friends.
They're kind of like in there too.
The lady friends or the guy friends?
The lady friends, the
Yeah.
not Philly friends. Yes.
Yeah. For sure. So we're getting to learn some of the names. We'll have to learn more,
We're
obviously.
Just studying the names.
And at this point, just call them by based on like what they're like, mom and dad, and
Yeah.
friends
Say
and cousins and.
father, son, yeah, all that.
Right,
But there's
friend, yeah.
but there's too many friends groups. That's why we gotta learn the names. 'Cause
Yes.
There's a bunch of friends groups.
Yes. For my sister's cousin's friend's college roommate.
Yeah, my sister's brother's father's former roommate.
Yes. Exactly.
What is that to you? Absolutely nothing. Which is about what you're about to become.
Exactly.
Name that movie.
Spaceballs.
Thank you. Good job.
And Dark Helmet.
Yes,
All right,
Dark
perfect.
Helmet.
So other than that, I hope they do have a, Amazing Race season 46 might take place in space. That'd be fun.
Sure. Whatever.
Right, I think about 35. This is I think 35 or 36. So like give it like 10 years or more. Maybe they have a season that takes place partially in space.
That would take way too long. So I'm gonna say that's not gonna happen.
That's gonna be a no for me.
It wouldn't even be partially in space. It would have to be all in space.
Right.
And what fun would that be?
That's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Other than that,
Kidding me? People don't even want to go over freaking height stuff. You think they're gonna go in a spaceship?
whatever.
No.
Whatever. Be sure to subscribe if you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, facebook.com/PaperRopeProductions or PaperRopeProd. You can email the show directly, paperropeproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe right here in the YouTube channel. Tell your friends, pass it along, obviously. Friends of the Amazing Race, friends of Survivor. It's both combined into one now, so if you like one or the other, get both, and you're going to like it.
Just skip through.
Yeah, right. It's
Skip
about,
through to the better one. It's fine. We all understand.
yeah, I can put eventually maybe I'll put the timestamps of when the other one starts in the comments or something, so you guys can have that, but I'm not doing it this time because we're driving, so, but anyways, thank you for listening, thank you for subscribing and telling your friends. Anything to add, Jessica?
No, I'm good.
Cool. Well, we'll be back next week around the same time, probably on Thursday, hopefully. We're trying to get them on Thursdays maybe, or Fridays, but I think that's it, right?
Yes.
Cool. I know one thing. I got nothing else for you because the tribe has spoken.
Safe travels.